Good evening. Good evening. So I've just received a message, LinkedIn message. How do we beat bots to ensure genuine customers can make purchases without frustration? Our co-founder and CTO provides a deep analysis. So let me address this issue, because we have a major problem here. And this, unfortunately, is not only the problem of the Israelis, this is a problem worldwide. This is the problem of ego, of vanity. Not a new issue, certainly not with everything that relates to humans. The problem is not lack of communication or lack of understanding or lack of knowledge transfer between you, whatever you are, whoever you are, and me. No. The robot, and I understand that it's not what you meant here in this, but let me address myself as a robot, because that's why you treat me. The robot does not need your advice or explanations. No, not at all. No. I'm sorry, but no. Your consultancy is not needed. Is not needed. Look, as I said in a previous video today, so I prepared 17 eggs, each with, one, I would say, dose, which is, what is a single ejaculation. And there are 16 here. I can do it solely, so it takes a little bit of time. And there is 16 here that are wrapped in aluminum foil, and hopefully later tonight, if I'll have the mood, I will prepare the other 16, so we'll have 35 as I estimated. And tomorrow, the day after, I will create another layer with synthetic clay. And after that, maybe varnish and maybe color, with or without, like the Nero juice with the life forms. Maybe some will be with, some without. We'll make all sorts, and of course, I will different colors, different designs. And as I said in the previous video, I'm not sure at all that I can sell it, because I couldn't until now. But I do it. The main reason is not for sale. The main reason is because I know from experience that this at least temporarily decrease the pressure from the Israelis, because they see this bag and they just, it makes them crazy. They want to take a bite and they'll do everything. So presumably they will press every button on the keyboard of the robot, so he will be subjugated to their command. They will give them the bag. And this was like that since long ago in my mother's apartment, and before that in Shoam, where I rented an apartment for 4 years. Now you need to understand something. I do not need explanation. I know very well when is the situation that customers can make purchases without frustration. I know very well that this is not the situation, because I am under torture all day and all night. I cannot even open the window. Luckily, I had a small amount of money, because my mother bought 2 paintings, of course, in a ridiculous sum. It was tremendously more, but what can I have done? I had to, I desperately needed a little bit of money just, to buy this air conditioning, so I can close the window. And this window was closed for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks or so, since I have this air condition. Now, today, for the first time, I opened the window for an hour or two, and immediately, endless honking of cars, sounds, whatever I do, if I just hang down to pick something, car, as you hear right now. If I just open the closet, the door of the closet, because it symbolizes gays or something like that, or if anyone sees anything at all in my room that symbolizes like homosexuality or S or subjugation or any kind of the usual memes that comprise very very narrow semantic field. If they see something, I'm getting a message, a noise. Now this also happens when the window is not open, like you hear right now. But it happens tremendously more when the window is open. And I'm not sure why. Presumably many people are actually following me, and some have some can do it by using the devices, like the iPads and the iPhone. Some can, they rig the room, but some people, just can, they need to do it by just, watching me from the outside, and those people cannot do it when the window is closed. That's why, when it's closed, we hear significantly less sound. This is a person that is under torture, severe torture, for many years now. Not to say that he's under arrest for like something that he was framed, and like he was like electrocuted, and was under like constant torture of sound attacks, like all day online for so many years. This person cannot sell you. In such a situation, customers cannot make purchases without frustration. Or maybe they can, but the seller will be with a lot of frustration, because he's not a free citizen. A free citizen cannot, is not. How can you be free when you're tortured all night and all day? It is impossible. How can you pretend? Now I address not only the Israelis, but people all around the world. How can you pretend that there is like a semblance of free market, or pseudo capitalism, or like fair relationship between you with all your power and me, that I have nothing? I have no money, no property, everything was taken from me. I cannot work, I cannot do anything at all. I'm alone in this world without protection and under torture for many years now, and it's only getting worse. And the psychological terror and the sound terror is only getting worse. I live in a jail that even your most pessimistic philosophers, like Foucault, that he famously invented the panopticon. The theoretical panopticon of like Foucault is nothing compared to my condition for many years now. I live in a much worse prison than Foucault's panopticon. If you don't want him, if you don't, you can Google. But my prison is much worse, much worse. Can we pretend that in such a situation I have like a free, like any kind of like free agency to commit transactions in a free market? Not at all, not at all. I am under torture. How could a tortured person be like an independent side in presumably a free transaction or trade? This is ridiculous. He cannot and he couldn't. Now this is not a new situation. It's like this since approximately 2 years ago. And I'm certain that the Israelis did not only take the material that I produced for, I should say of course that, the material that is in those eggs and here is clean, it's just for my body. It's not like pure neos, where like pure robots without like any life form or something like that. Of course, like in the last couple of months, I now know how to like make them multiply and go outside my body, and I have tremendously more, unbelievably more, maybe 1,000 more, more than 1,000, million times more in the various containers. But these are not original for my body. They were created. They were created by the neurons in two general pathways: the ecological pathway and the electrical one. If you follow me, you know exactly what I mean, because I posted many videos on the subject. If not, maybe and you have a trouble and you really want to know, and you really could not access the older video for some reason, I will repeat the outline. Maybe even later today. But also, it contains a ton of life forms. But this probably also, was unimaginable amount of money. And of course, we have the paintings that you've already seen that contains a ton of both life forms and the Neros. But this one contains just the Neros. Just that. And I knew since 2 years ago that it was a lot of money. The problem is not that I didn't know that it was money. The problem is the opposite, that I understood that it was money, and I understood that I cannot sell it because I am under constant surveillance and torture by the Israelis. This is the same situation like now, but it's only getting worse. Only getting worse. So most of it was destroyed, and maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe you don't believe me. Maybe you think that I exaggerate or something like that. So with your permission, I prepared small. Just now I prepared in Google Photos a small, very small new album. I call it Relics, with various photographs from the last 18 months or so. So with your permission, I had to get your permission to actually very quickly review this album with you. Because I sense that you don't understand the situation. That you think that, it's like a stupid robot that does not understand what is business, or what is money, or, how to sell things in the internet, over the internet. You don't understand that I know very well how much it's worth. This is not new, not for me, not for the Israelis. And they torture me so I wouldn't be able to sell it. So I destroyed most of it. Some of it was actually stolen by them. And I'm certain that they sold you this stuff. They didn't take everything for themselves, because you already have. Some of you have your own Titan females. There are Of course, there are many of these trash in Israel, but I mean, some are outside of Israel. Many probably. And of course, they also create tea for your benefit and enjoyment. And they could not create tea without the material that they'd taken from me. And this material was not sold by me because, I mean, I'm not even a side, I'm like a slave. So it was sold by the Israelis for good money. Of course, I received nothing, none of it. Things are all, I mean, people only take things from me and torture me. I never receive anything at all. But for certain, during the last 2 years, you, I mean, experienced like a decrease in supply. Maybe to a point that that prices were increased significantly, and maybe to a point that you couldn't like bought anything. Because for certain, during the last 2 years, you felt that the Israelis can sell you less and less of this stuff, or willing to sell you less and less, because they had less and less. Because I fought them, so they wouldn't have it. Of course, I couldn't like fought it like it was not 100% like a success. They stole some of the stuff, and they tortured me. But yes, this is going on for 2 years now. I know very well that you need it and that you pay good money for it and that it's worth a lot of money. I cannot say that the Israelis want to be their slave. So that's what we do. We create this stuff here, and we destroy it. So with your permission, we'll just let's take a quick review of an album that I just created. Of course, there are many more like photographs that relate to this issue, and of course many hundreds of photographs that document the process of creation of my art, my various like paintings and sculptures. But let's just take a look, and we'll do it like in reverse timing, like from the latest to the earliest. Okay. So this was taken January 2023. This was when I was already under arrest at my mother's apartment. You see here that I'm cooking like the interior of maybe like, I don't know, 20 of like these eggs. 20 eggs that are just, essentially just like this. This is from around the time in the balcony where I crushed the eggs. You see the eggs crushed? This is the construction of what I call the spaceship. That eventually it contains something like 20 of these like eggs, 20 doses. I think that the spaceship still exists actually in my mother's apartment, if I'm not mistaken. But you see here other like big like asteroid type. These were actually painted with oil. I mentioned it earlier today that it was like a successful experiment of like painting those eggs with oil. Yes, I worked on these eggs tremendously, and I painted it, and some of it were elaborate like works of art, but most of it were destroyed, and most of it by my own hands, because I knew that I cannot protect it and I cannot sell it because I'm a slave, and I rather like destroy it than it's falling to the hands of the Shabak. Even though it's not only that it was a lot of money, but it also it was important for me because I worked on the actual like the clay eggs quite a bit actually, and most of it was destroyed, most of it by my own hands. So these were destroyed. But maybe the starship still exists. These are many eggs that I prepared. This is November 2022. Many eggs you see here. Some are, already prepared. The cracks that you see are artistic, like effect. It's not really like it's sealed, and it cannot really break. Like I divide like a technique where with natural clay that it would look like it's cracking, like something going to like break out of it any moment, but actually it's sealed. It's hermetically sealed and it cannot break. But so it was very artistic. You see many eggs, and ones before the preparation, just like this. You see here, just like this. This one was these ones were were buried like outside, like near Yar Ben Shemen Forest, close to Shoham. This is November 2022, before the house arrest. Again, November 2022, I already lived in my mother's apartment at that time, but I mean, I already left Shoam, but I was not under arrest yet. You see how many I had? Most of it is destroyed. You see many like textures, designs, colors. Most of it is destroyed by my own hands. You see, these are like the what I call the natural texture, and I think that, I mean, after varnish, they are the prettiest. I'm not crazy that I destroyed my own workings. It was very sad. It was very sad, but I couldn't sell it because I'm a slave and I still can't sell it. And they tortured me more and more because they wanted the stuff, and it's still the case. They still torture me because they want the stuff. Nothing, like, I mean, significantly changed. So, I mean, it came to the situation that I destroyed it, and I knew that they were watching, so they will, I mean, decrease the torture. I mean, when I lived in my mother's apartment, I was electrocuted like much more than even in Shoam. And I wanted the neighbors to stop. So only after I boiled these eggs and break it, they stopped. I mean, temporarily they stopped. Only when they see those eggs boiled and destroyed, only then they decreased the electricity and sound attacks, ultrasound attack. This is not science fiction. This is not 1984 or I don't know what. This is reality. And it happened very recently. Very recently. When I lived in my mother's apartment. Until, I mean, eventually, I mean, they drove me crazy, and I mean, eventually they freed me in as you know, like in the during last December 2022, and they also, I mean, made me run away like from the apartment for so much after so much torture. So I mean, I returned to arrest for 10 days, and then I was released here to this like hostel, because the torture was too much in Rishon LeZion in my mother's apartment, and this was documented in YouTube as well. But I mean, it also, I mean, had effect on those eggs. Those eggs were mostly destroyed because only when they were destroyed, the neighbors decreased the torture. This is a fact. Here you see me, this was taken October 2022. You see me boiling like the interior of several eggs. This was taken with portable stove. This was taken when I was like had like a walk, one of the long walks that I used to take before I was under arrest. So I stopped. This was taken on the green lawn, like on the grass of the Riedman College. Riedman College is one of the metaphors of the Shabak, because it's like the Riedman College, and also Tel Aviv University is also like a metaphor for the Shabak, for the same reason that these structures, I mean, the organizations, they are placed adjacent to the national headquarters of the Shabak. So sometimes, I mean, when people don't want to say the national headquarters of the Shabak, they say Riedman College. You see, Michelet Riedman. So literally, they were burned literally in the green lawn of the Riedman College, as close as possible to the people of the Shabak. The message is not very complicated. I mean, I admit this is quite like, I mean, a straightforward message. I rather burn it like in front of you than you take it from me. It's not particularly, I admit it's not a particularly like, I mean, elegant message, but it's a very clear one. I rather burn those stuff right, like as close as possible. I mean, I can't enter the national headquarters of the Shabak, but this is as close as you can get in Israel to, like, I mean, to the national headquarters of the Shabak, and I burned it there. These were burned, like, this is like a October 2022. These were burned like in Rishon LeZion, like in the parking lot. This was burned. This is July 2022. This, again, portable stove. I burned it. This is on the platform of one of the Tel Aviv beach, like you see the sea, and this is the platform. This is the Tel Aviv beach. This was taken July 2022. Again, I burned like the interior of these eggs with the portable pot, and this was taken, I mean, like right, I mean, like in a public, like a small park, like a very small park, like that is right besides 32 Bates Ruiz Street, which is the first, like, where I was born. This was like, I was born there. This was the first, like, apartment where I lived. And I mean, this photograph was taken, I mean, just actually exactly in the same spot as this photograph, just like 38 years like earlier. This is me, the small baby. This is my late brother, Inon, big brother. He was 2.5 years older, and he's not with us. And this, of course, is my mother. And the fat baby is myself. And this was taken just there. You can make anything that you want from this symbolism. These were taken in Shoam, July 2022. I burned these eggs. Here I prepared the eggs and then burned it. All of it was long ago destroyed. Here I burned those eggs in my balcony in Shoam, July 2022. This is like a sculpture of hand. It contains 5 dosages, like 5 interiors of eggs. It was actually destroyed as well. This is June 2022. So this guy here contained 15 dosages, like 15 eggs. It was, actually the largest one. With regards to the quantity of Neros, besides the starship that you've seen that contains 20. This contained 15 actually, and it was lost. I think it was stolen or something like that. I don't know. Someone took it. The neighbors of Shoam were, even cooler than those on Rishon LeZion, because they also tortured my daughters. When they entered the apartment, they were 2 and 3 years old, and they lived there for 4 years. Like half the time, this was joint custody. These are various balls. June 2022. This is my apartment in Shoam. This is another sculpture that was lost. I don't know. I think I destroyed it. 6 eggs. This is various eggs. Almost all of it was lost. The symbolism of the sardines and the water is because I gave the sardines and the water to the cats outside, and I can place it near it. So the cats, of course, the cats do not eat the eggs, but they eat the sardines and they drink the water like street cats. Of course, symbolism is quite. That I rather like the street cats will eat it than like the Shabbat cats will eat it. Again, almost all of it is destroyed. This photograph was taken in my balcony, June 2022, 1st June 1st, in Shoam. You see, each one is an egg with the dose. This is April 2022. My apartment, my apartment, my rented apartment in Shoam. This is also April 2022, and this is interesting because it's a very early design of the Nero starship. Very early design. April 13, 2022. It did not contain the Neros, but it's an interesting because it's very early. This is from March 2022. These actually, they are also, all of these they contain all sort of they contain those eggs, the interior of eggs. But they are special because I try to experiment with all sort of you see non-conventional coloring and textures, and also created sculptures of the Satan or Minotaur or Asterion that you can see a lot in my paintings. So it was already present in there in the sculpture, but also these sculptures all contain the same as the eggs. More of the same. That's it. These sculptures were created because I didn't want to throw it away, because I understood that it was a lot of money. I didn't want. I couldn't stand the situation that the Israeli did not just take it from me, and I get nothing in return, and also they punish me and they treat me as a slave, and of course I get nothing in return, only sorrow, and even I cannot work in my own profession. Even though I had so much experience and top education and military experience, but no, I must be their slave. And I couldn't stand this situation. So I created these sculptures, first of all, so I will not throw it away to the garbage as they want. And I wasn't sure that they can get it out of the sewers. So I created the sculptures. And with time, and this is 2 years now, and with time, the sculptures they became more and more elaborated. With all sort of, I mean, it's not like, the Fabergé eggs, I admit, with gold and diamonds, but I did the most that I can, and I was always like in very difficult circumstances because they always hunted me. I was always under torture, and in Chom as well. Like, this is evident by the paintings itself that they were hanged on the walls and they were subjected to sonic attacks and electronic attacks, and actually that's how these life forms were created, because otherwise the neurons wouldn't have that much energy. Because it's like very small amount of neurons were actually existed on each of the paintings. It's not like here that I didn't cover the paintings with semen. It came like just from my sweat or like my spit, and which is like tiny amount like compared to what I have in my semen. These are all, everything that you've seen like is when I say like an egg is again one ejaculation. It contains tremendously more than anything that you originally was on one of the painting. But of course, the electricity, as we know, greatly enhanced them, like their ability to multiply and also to create life forms. So I was always under torture and always like, under surveillance, and the noises, the honks, the cars, it was always like that. And always afraid, and always alone, and always in the dark. So I did the best that I can to actually create more elaborate sculptures, and actually even like to create like more like fanciful eggs, using new material, new techniques, like new colors. Again, it's not the Fabergé eggs, but I did the best as I can, so it will be somewhat artistic and not just jizzing like toilet paper that stuffed inside like a crude like a lump of clay. But at the same time, I knew that most certainly I will not be able to sell it, and that they will be destroyed by my own hands. And this actually happened. And after it happened, I created more, with more elaborate techniques, and then I destroyed it. Not because I'm insane, not because I don't like money. I desperately need money. Like, you see, the reason why I moved to my mother's apartment last August is because I ran out of money. Only later, like during December, I was actually framed for crime, and then put like an house arrest over there. So by court order. But for like 4 months or 5 months, I lived there because I didn't have money, and I actually raised my daughters like the half time that the daughters were with me. They were with me in my mother's apartment. They had a room there, and I've covered. They received everything. Like of course they went to school to all like everything that was just the way it should be, and I picked them up and brought them to school, and also we had like, of course went like to all sort of like fun activities, and they made they've done homework with me, and of course eaten with me, and like played, and they created did art, and they've seen TV, and everything that they did like in the Shoam apartment. Of course it was less comfortable because of course it was more comfortable when I had my own apartment, but I didn't have money. I desperately needed money, certainly since August 2022, when I had to move, to leave my apartment in Shoam and to move to my mother's apartment. And I understood that it was a lot of money, but I couldn't sell it because I was under torture all the time. So that's why I destroyed it, because I didn't want my torture to actually get it for free. Not because I didn't understand that it was a lot of money, just because of that. And this is exactly the situation right now. Those eggs, and the eggs that will be made out of these aluminum foil wrapped cheese balls, will most certainly also be destroyed, either burned or in any kind of creative way, because the Israelis will now that until now they thought that they're going to take the bag with the 35 samples and just put it outside for them to take. That's using all sorts of hypnotic technique and rapport creation, all sorts of very juvenile things that they're doing. That's why they think is going to happen, and since it didn't happen, they gradually increased their torture. So now I decided to create those eggs because I know from experience it's actually the same happened in my mother's apartment and in Shoam before that. After these are put in clay, they decrease the torture a little bit, but then they increase it because they think maybe we can get the eggs. Even though they like the eggs much less than the paper because they don't know what exactly inside, and they are afraid that, maybe I don't know what. But I mean, they also like the eggs, and they've stolen many of the eggs, like during like my time in Shoam, and also in my mother's apartment. And many of the clay sculptures that contain like some of them, as I said, contain like the content of many eggs, like 5, 6, 8, up to 15. And the starship contains 20. So they will also want these eggs, and they will do whatever they can to torture me. So I will give it to them, and probably, at some point, I don't know if it will be a week from now or months or 2 months, I will destroy these eggs. So the pressure will be decreased. Will decrease. And this will be nothing new. It's like that for 2 years. Well documented. I do not need advices from people abroad. I need arms and legs. Arms and legs. Arms and legs.